A violent weekend in Chicago after calls for a reversal of no cash bail in Illinois. Plus, we've got a candidate profile of Republican gubernatorial candidate Ted Dabrwoski. That's what we're going to be tackling here with Illinois in Focus Daily. Good morning. I'm Greg Bishop with you each and every weekday morning here. You can wake up with the Center Square and get the latest of what you need to know to get on with your day. Of course, we've got the Illinois page focused on Illinois headlines, including Pritzker suggests he's open to tweaking Safety Act after train passenger fire. You can read that story. We'll talk about that a bit later on here. But plenty of other headlines you can find as well at thecentersquare.com, where you've got even more you can delve into, including everyday economics, a feature for the Center Square detailing economic issues. You can also find investigative reporting and stories from across the country at thecentersquare.com. But you get the newsletter in your inbox simply by clicking newsletter and fill out the email, and you'll be posted on when we've got stuff coming out and when things are published. It's a free newswire service at thecentersquare.com. All right, so a couple of things we got to tackle. Of course, we've got a gubernatorial election coming up in March. You got the primary. Then November, you've got Governor Pritzker running for a second term. But the primary, March 17th, it's going to be a crowded field for Republicans in the gubernatorial race. And we're going to do what we can to talk with the candidates. We've got feelers out for several of them. But we did connect with Ted Dabrwoski, and he gave us 20 minutes and a range of questions, so we'll get to that later in the program. But let's start with the violence in Chicago that happened around the holiday festivals on Friday, and the calls for reversal of no cash bail in Illinois, or at least some kind of modification. Governor J.B. Pritzker indicating that he's open to that. Have the state house leaders been open to it? Something, again, we'll continue to monitor here with Illinois in Focus Daily and the Center Square. So, again, go to the website, thecentersquare.com. Wake up with us here with Illinois in Focus Daily each and every weekday morning. And get the podcast where you get podcasts. Just search Illinois in Focus.
Incidents like last night set us back as a city, and it evokes fear. Our young people have to understand that they should not attend these unauthorized events that have been advertised on social media.
It's Chicago Mayor Brandon Johnson after a deadly couple of shootings, leaving scores of people injured and one dead. Investigation continues. It is Illinois in Focus Daily with you each and every weekday morning. I'm Greg Bishop, and you've got Chicago violence and the state's end of cash bail coming into clear detail as we continue to look at what happened over the weekend, where early weekend violence erupted as you had revelers taking in the holiday spirit. Here's just some of what that looked like Friday in Chicago. This was during the Christmas tree lighting ceremony at Millennium Park, and you could see tons of people out there. Beautiful evening. Oh my gosh, couldn't ask for better conditions in Chicago Friday night for that tree lighting ceremony. People obviously having a good time, listening to music, watching the tree get on display. But violence eventually broke out Friday, where you have the reports coming in They anticipated potential disruptions due to social media posts warning about some so-called teen takeovers. That's large unsupervised gatherings of young people, and there were 2 shootings that ended up breaking out. 7 wounded, all teenagers in the first shooting. The second shooting happened about an hour later at about 10:40, where a 14-year-old was shot and killed multiple times. You've got an 18-year-old that was injured in the leg, and clearly this happening after a seemingly successful holiday gathering downtown. You have the concerns being raised about public safety in Chicago. Chicago Mayor Brandon Johnson had this to say.
Incidents like last night set us back as a city, and it evokes fear. Our young people have to understand that they should not attend these unauthorized events that have been advertised on social media. They are extremely dangerous due to the number of individuals that may be carrying weapons, and as much progress as we have made, there are still far too many guns on our streets. For these young people who have engaged in these incidents, you have put yourselves and your friends at risk. Because of the reckless behavior of a few individuals, we have families devastated, and our downtown residents are hesitant to leave their own homes. I'm the first person to recognize that we have more work to do in this city to provide safe spaces for our young people. But these type of violent gatherings can never be an alternative, nor can they be normalized. We need parents, guardians, and other responsible adults to do their best to accompany young people in large, unsanctioned gatherings where weapons are likely to be present. There's always more we as adults can do to make sure that we know where our kids are and what they are doing. I recognize this feels like emotional whiplash. After this incredible celebration last night where thousands of people gathered, Chicagoans who were enjoying our tree lighting ceremony expressed their love for our city. It was peaceful. It was a joyous evening, a vision of the best of Chicago. The holiday season is a time when we come together as a city. It's when we spend time with our families and our loved ones. This is the opposite type of behavior that anybody wants to see. And road that we have to build the city that we all want to live in. We will continue to pray for the victims and their families. We will continue to pray for our city. This is an ongoing investigation, and we'll provide the updates as we have them.
The mayor laying out that obviously the city of Chicago is praying for the family as they work through a pretty tough time of that 14-year-old that was killed. President Donald Trump seeing this in the headlines, posting onto Truth Social, massive crime and rioting in the Chicago Loop area. Multiple police officers attacked and badly injured. There are reports of hundreds of police being on the streets during this time because, again, they brought more police onto the scene after they got indication of a social media promotion to gather people together. But Trump goes on to say 300 people rioting, 6 victims shot, 1 critical, and 1 dead. In the meantime, Governor Pritzker and the low IQ mayor of Chicago are refusing federal government help for a situation that could be quickly remedied. The people are chanting, "Bring in Trump." And you have seen in the past, as we've covered here with Illinois in Focus, the ongoing conversation that some in Chicago have of bringing in Trump, bringing in more feds, bringing in even the National Guard. That entire situation is being tied up in the courts as you've got the efforts of the Trump administration to try to use the Guard to assist in enforcement of federal immigration law to keep assets of the federal government, property and personnel, safe as they conduct federal immigration enforcement. Still a lot of things to do with that, and that story's pages keep turning. So we'll obviously stay there. But the issue of public safety in Chicago, obviously after Friday and the deadly shooting, 2 separate shootings, teenagers across the board injured there. Earlier, you had another individual who went to the CTA line and lit it on fire, including one individual that is in critical condition, last I saw reports. And this has led to questions even for Governor J.B. Pritzker about the Safety Act and no cash bail, because The suspect in this case that was arrested for lighting somebody on fire inside public transportation in Chicago had dozens of previous arrests. I've seen 40, I've seen 70, I've seen it reported multiple times, but clearly that was a individual who had been arrested before in the past, but had been released. Governor J.B. Pritzker being asked about this on Friday, and if there's room to change the state's no-cash bail policies.
The Safety Act is designed to give judges the ability to keep people in jail who they think are potentially dangerous for the community. So it is the judgment of those elected judges that ultimately determines, in most cases, whether somebody is released or not. And it's a better way, by the way, than bail. Because bail is sort of an automatic out for people who just happen to have enough money, and an automatic incarceration for somebody who happens not to have enough money. Rather use judgment, good judgment, in most cases, to keep violent criminals or people who have mental health problems. And it's my understanding, at least all the reading that I've done, I don't know more than that, that this person seems to have had some serious mental health challenges. And so that's another aspect of what I think judges need to take into consideration. I want to make sure that we are providing the kind of mental health that should be available to people who need it, and especially somebody who has the potential for, or who has in the past committed some violence. Yes.
The reporter, if you can't hear, is asking a question about some cases where a convicted murderer was ultimately released, even though he served his time previously, but was released on a separate charge and ended up punching somebody in the face, and prosecutors are saying there's big problems.
Of course, if there are changes that need to be, look, we do this all the time in Springfield, right? Where there are laws that have been on the books for 20 years that need tweaking because there's something that somebody missed in the original, writing of it. And so always willing to look at that. I can't speak to the specifics of that case that you're raising, but just to say, of course, and I've said this about the Safety Act before, and about really every bill that gets passed in Springfield. Sometimes bills get passed and everybody that votes for it knows that there needs to be a trailer bill or a tweak that needs to be made afterward. So I think everybody is open to listening to what changes might need to be made.
So the governor taking those questions Friday, but that was in reference to the CTA attack of a person on the train being lit on fire by somebody who had dozens of previous arrests and was let go, and Illinois being the first state to end cash bail. Now, the end of cash bail has been criticized by Republicans in the state of Illinois. They've called for it to be completely reversed and for cash bail to be reimposed. They say that if it's going to stay in place, they need to broaden the detention net, the list of offenses that automatically keep somebody behind bars pending trial. You have a right to a speedy trial in the U.S. So, can you be held behind bars to get that speedy trial? So, you've got Republicans saying either end it or modify it. And even President Donald Trump has sounded off on Illinois' no cash bail. Got to check on where they're at with their review of jurisdictions that have ended cash bail and what kind of financial resources federal taxpayers could withhold from the state of Illinois for having no cash bail. But Governor J.B. Pritzker obviously defending it, saying that there can be tweaks. But we've seen this brought up where Republicans say they have the tweaks, but Democrats who are in control of the legislature aren't allowing for those tweaks to even be discussed in committee. So is this going to change things, right? The violence that happened on the CTA train with somebody being lit on fire, the accused individual there being charged with terrorism, and also having dozens of prior arrests, to what happened Friday in Chicago around the holiday tree lighting party, and two separate shootings, one 14-year-old dead, scores of other teenagers shot and injured. Governor J.B. Pritzker saying, the perception about public safety in Chicago, these I guess he's indicating it's an isolated incident, kind of like Chicago Mayor Brandon Johnson said the CTA train fire was an isolated incident. And Pritzker says that Chicago's safe. I need to double check the audio there. I'm seeing that it's not necessarily coming through as maybe it should. Let me change the channel here on that so that you guys could hear it better. Apologize, this is live to tape as we go live each and every weekday morning to get you the latest here. So let's see if we can better hear Governor J.B. Pritzker's response to the issue of the perception of public safety in the city of Chicago after these high-profile and alarming incidents.
Look, wherever there is a horrible crime that is committed, and they happen all over the country, it doesn't show a positive light on wherever it is that that crime occurred. Chicago, because the President of the United States regularly stands up and attacks the city of Chicago and says that it's on fire, and that every neighborhood and every community of Chicago is a dangerous place to be. When he does that, anytime there is a crime, and especially one that's this horrific, it tends to get amplified because of his words. I don't diminish what happened on the Blue Line in any way when I say that crime is down in the city and the state. What I am saying is truthful. It is also true that any crime that occurs, and especially one like this, is one that we ought to be going after, that we ought to be investigating, and we ought to holding people accountable for.
So again, the governor saying that one high-profile crime doesn't mean that all places in Chicago are dangerous. But that was Friday when he made the comments, and then later in the day on Friday, a place where you figure would be safe with hundreds of police officers, revelers celebrating the holiday season would be safe, but there were two separate shootings and a slew of teenagers shot, one killed, and again, a very public place that you would have thought would have been safe. We'll see how the rest of the state reacts to this. Good Monday morning. It is Illinois in Focus Daily. I'm Greg Bishop with you each and every weekday morning here. For more, go to thecentersquare.com. The March primary, 4 months away? Less than that? You're going to be able to go to the polling booth here in Illinois and choose either a Democrat or a Republican ballot and select who you want to be your party's nominee for the November general midterm election. And one of the races up for grabs is Illinois governor. Welcome in. It's Illinois in Focus Daily. Each and every weekday morning, we break things down for you so you can get on with your day. Go to thecentersquare.com, sign up for the newsletter, and get the latest headlines in your inbox. But again, wake up with us here, subscribe to the YouTube channel, watch the clips, or you can get the podcast where you get podcasts. Just search Illinois in Focus Daily. So we've got a field of candidates for the Republicans as they continue for the next few days here to respond to objections to their nominating petitions. You've got candidates that have been pretty elevated already, including Darren Bailey. He's a Republican who ran against Governor J.B. Pritzker back in 2022. Bailey also tragically lost his son, daughter-in-law, and 2 of 3 grandchildren from that family in a helicopter crash. And that happening just last month, or was it earlier this month? But family still mourning that and grieving from that. So we have yet to hear from Bailey. He has stayed in the race, but we're looking to set up a time where we can discuss the issues with the potential candidates. So he's running again. You've also got Jim Mendrick, who announced earlier this year, and he's the DuPage County Sheriff, that he's going to challenge Governor J.B. Pritzker. His petitions are in. You've got a businessman and several others, but somebody we talked with recently, Ted Dabrowski. Here's a conversation I had with him on a range of issues, and one of them obviously being an explanation of who exactly is Ted Dabrowski. Here's the candidates in a conversation I had with him late last week.
Yeah, so my name is Ted Dabrowski, and I'm running for governor of Illinois. And for the last 15 years, I've been fighting for change here in Illinois, trying to reform our state, trying to make it a growth state again. I believe it should be a top 5 state. We should be one of the most competitive, fastest growing states. We should be competing with North Carolina, with Tennessee, with Texas, with Florida. We have all the resources. We have, the land, the Chicago, the infrastructure, the lake. We have all these great things, and yet we're a bottom 5 state. And I'm running because I believe we can make this state a great state again. I think we're ready to go.
And one of the questions I have, I'm going to be asking all the candidates, is how do you distinguish yourself from other Republican candidates in the field for the March primary?
I'm certainly an outsider. I'm not an insider, so that makes me a little bit different. But I have been over the last 15 years working on public policy. I've traveled across the state extensively. I've worked with grassroots groups. I've worked with legislators. I've worked on legislation. I've testified in committees. So as I've said, I know how the sausage is made, and I know why it tastes so bad. We need to have big changes in that. But I also have an executive background. I worked over 15 years overseas, 6 years in finance in Mexico, 9 years in Poland. And so I bring a lot of executive experience in working with all kinds of people, having to perform, having to grow businesses. And I was so lucky to work in Poland, which was a state that I did a country, which was where I did my small part to bring that country out of the depths it was in communism and in the rubbles, and now it's one of the top performing countries in the world. And so that's part of my background. And of course, I talk a lot about my immigrant background. Both of my parents were immigrants here. My mom from Ecuador when she was a 19-year-old. And my father escaped from communist Poland, and they both came to Illinois. They both came to Chicago to live their American dream. What's fascinating and what I take away from both of them was that both of them escaped failed governments. Poland obviously was a failed government for all its reasons, but Ecuador too, a lot of poverty. So my parents escaped failed governments, and here we are now. People are leaving in droves, our very own state, because it's a failed government. And so I want to turn that around. This is an amazing state.
Now, I did ask specifically to distinguish himself from like Darren Bailey or Jim Mendrick or others that are in the field. And here's Ted Dabrowski, Republican candidate for governor.
Yeah, well, first of all, I've got a record. I've got a 15-year record. I've written about, both at the Illinois Policy Institute and at WirePoints, I've written, researched, and worked on changes to taxation. I've worked on changes to pensions, to budgeting. I've exposed lots of things. If there's one person who can kind of claim some kind of Doge type, exposure of failure, exposure of bad spending, bad policy, I've been doing that for a long time. So that's one. I know where the problems are, and that means I know how to fix them. I know what to roll back. That's one. Two, I've got the executive experience, which is much broader than they have. And so that I think lends a lot to it. I'm also from Cook County. I'm a common sense conservative from up here. I know how to operate in this environment, Cook County, the suburbs, which is key to winning. I think Bailey last time showed that, and I supported Bailey last time, but he showed that he couldn't win up here in the suburbs in Cook County. He lost by 35 percentage points up here, so that's a big difference as well.
So something else I asked Dabrowski was about the press and possibly facing a hostile press that may actually secretly support the Democrats and come after Dabrowski pretty hard on some issues. How does he plan to deal with that?
The amazing thing about a really hostile press is they don't know what to do when I show them the truth. When we talk about, let's talk about education, and I often talk about the reading numbers. A place like Decatur, Illinois, just 2% of third grade black children can read at grade level. The press never acknowledges that. But with a governor like me, they wouldn't be able to ignore it because one, I will put it front and center. We need to focus on literacy. We need to obsess about literacy, and we need to champion those black children in Decatur public schools who can't read. And right now, Governor Pritzker doesn't champion them. The press doesn't champion them. They actually deny the facts. So I will work with them on that. If we talk about crime, Chicago has led the country in murders for 13 years in a row, and this year will be number 14. They don't want to talk about that. I will expose that because what we need to do is back our police and have really strong law and order policies to get our communities safe again. So I will go back and forth on all this. Look, I talked about my parents coming here when they came here back in 1960-ish. People were coming from all over the world. The Illinois population was growing tremendously when they came. Everybody's coming for the American dream. Today, if you look at the last census, 2010 to 2020, there are only 3 states that shrunk in this country. It was Mississippi, West Virginia, and Illinois. What does the press want to do with those facts? Celebrate them? And I don't mean to belittle the other 2 states, but why are we in that group? Why are we not in the growing group? Why aren't we in the group that's growing our economy, growing population, growing wages? Because right now we're not. And the hostile press will have to take me on. But the facts are on my side. The truth is on my side, and the moral truth is on my side as well.
Now, Dabrowski had mentioned this earlier, but how do you get through in Chicago? How do you break through in the suburbs? This is a big area.
I have a little bit of an advantage too, because I'm from Cook County, and I've been here. And my running mate, Dr. Carrie Mendoza, who's an ER doctor here and lives in Cook County as well. We both are from up here. I think we'll be accepted more having been from up here. There's another part that I think is important. Is I'm half Polish, half Hispanic, so I will go out and try to talk to that community, both communities, and gain their support. I think there's plenty of people who are disenfranchised with Governor Pritzker, and so that's another opportunity for me. But remember, we don't have to win Cook County in the suburbs, right? We have to do well enough because a Republican will do really well in all the other counties. It's just being able to garner enough votes. And I'll tell you the way I think we win right now is that if you look at Governor Pritzker, his policies are so extreme now, and Democrats are so extreme, and we see it across the board. We've seen it with boys and girls sports, teaching transgenderism in the 4th grade. We've got the funding of over $2 billion for healthcare for illegal immigrants. It just goes on and on. We're putting mental health screening in our public schools. Doesn't belong there. So there's so many things that have become extreme, and Pritzker owns all those. He's championing all those, and I think there will be many people. You've seen the black community be very disenfranchised by the illegal immigration. You've seen a lot of the Hispanics disenfranchised by all the DEI in schools. You've got parents in the suburbs who hate losing their parental control over their children, whether it's for health or school issues. So I think there's enough people who said, Governor Pritzker's had, nearly 7 years to fix things. He hasn't. He's only made things worse. He's done nothing about property taxes. We're not growing jobs, and our kids can't read in schools. It's not working. So I think people are awake and looking for other things.
That's, again, Ted Dabrowski. He's a Republican candidate running for Illinois governor, and he talked about some of the minority groups in Chicago. Well, how does he work with Chicago folks, for instance?
That's the big opportunity. They know that Governor Pritzker hasn't helped. Look how strong he's been with illegal immigrants. He puts them over his own citizens, right? When you spend $2 billion on illegal immigrants, and you can love illegal immigrants all you want, but when you're spending $2 billion and ignoring your very residents, which is what the Chicago Flips Red is so upset about, is that the black community is being ignored. Pritzker prioritizes illegal immigrants over his own black community. And and it's similar when we talk about the deaths that have occurred under the hands of illegal immigrants. Joe Abraham lost his daughter to an illegal immigrant who crashed into a car his daughter was in and killed her immediately. Governor Pritzker has never ever apologized or expressed any kind of empathy or sympathy to Joe Abraham. He's ignored him this whole time, and that's how Pritzker is. He's prioritizing illegal immigrants over his own residents.
Ted Dabrowski is running for Illinois governor as a Republican. Obviously, if he gets through the March primary, he's going to see a pretty high dollar that Pritzker's going to spend.
He's got $25 million he just put in just like that. He's a billionaire. Governor Pritzker's got lots of money. but he's got a lot of bad outcomes on his side. We just talked about several of them. So he won't be able to defend that. Now the question is for our side, can we elevate the issues? Can we hold him accountable for all the things he's done? I think if we can elevate our campaign, is we start to get national support as well, because Governor Pritzker is running for president. He does not care right now about running for governor. And you can see that by his positions. You can see that all he does is fight Trump. He does nothing to really do anything here to support. He hasn't lowered property taxes. He hasn't even tried. He's only raised them by his policies. So I think there's going to be enough interest from outside to help us elevate the campaign. Of course, we have to do our job and we have to make our case.
How does Ted Dabrowski, as a Republican, if he wins governor, gets through the primary and beats Pritzker in November, is he going to work with a Democratic-led General Assembly at the state legislature? How does that work? What does that look like? Again, Ted Dabrowski, part of the conversation I had with him on Friday.
I think, one, if I were to win, that would send a big signal to the legislature that people are tired of the extreme policies. I mean, that would be an immediate and obvious conclusion to that. So hopefully we would have some kind of reversion to the mean, let's call it. But I do think that when you have the highest property taxes in the country, and I tell you that's the number one issue as I go around. It doesn't matter where I go, and we even had a bonfire where people were in the west side of Chicago were burning property tax bills. That's how bad it's gotten. People are livid, and there's no way the Democrats can avoid that issue. I'll tell you another issue they can't avoid is our kids can't read. You're seeing a disaster in schools across the state where our kids can't read anymore. And so I do think there's a chance to, one, find common ground on that. But two, look, what Rauner didn't do, which is what I would do, is one, use the bully pulpit to say, hey, we've got a problem in Illinois, and you've got to connect the dots between the Democrats who are in total control, super majorities in the legislature. The problems we have in Illinois are tied to them. Connect the dots. We'd have a 4-year campaign to try to change the legislature. But then also don't forget that the governor gets to name department heads and all kinds of positions, which can also impact how we execute. And of course, the governor has the veto pen. You can do line item vetoes and veto a lot of the bad bills that, of course, Pritzker signed immediately. So there's a lot that can be changed. But I do think that I, as the next governor, would have to make my case to the people of Illinois that we need more change, because this is an amazing state. We should be competing with all the other states and not be a bottom 5 state.
Again, if Dabrowski was able to beat Pritzker in November, Trump would still be president. How would he work with the Trump administration in bettering the state of Illinois?
Trump has done amazing things to close the border. He's put school choice in his budget bill. He's trying to bring manufacturing back, which God knows we need manufacturing back in Illinois. He's fighting crime like no president has ever fought crime. So there's a lot to do to work with the federal administration with Trump. That said, there's a lot of things that we have to do in Illinois that have nothing to do with Trump, and that's like our property taxes. We made that mess. We have to fix it. Our second highest gas taxes. We made that mess. We have to fix it. The fact that our kids can't read in schools. We have to fix that. So we'll work with Trump where it makes sense and where he has impact, obviously, because he is our president. At the same time, I don't want people to think that we can't think that President Trump can fix all our problems, because we're a state. We have to fix them, and it's on us to fix those things.
Some of the issues Illinoisans pay, high property taxes. How do you address that in the grand scheme of it being a local issue?
My gosh, you and I have talked a lot in the past about all the powers that our government, our Illinois legislators have given the public unions in Illinois. The public unions are the most powerful in the country, and with that comes you've got school superintendents making over the one in Dalton making $450,000. In my own neck of the woods in the New Trier Township, we've got seven superintendents all making over $300,000. And that means massive costs, massive pensions, massive bureaucracies around each superintendent. That's another. You still have spiking. We spike contracts. The last 5 years, we automatically spiked 6% each year, those salaries. And so it's boosting salaries, boosting pensions. We've got double dipping. My own previous superintendent, elementary superintendent, is double dipping right now, getting a pension and earning a salary. It's fascinating. I could go through the list of the most units of government. You and I have talked about that. We have so many units of government and duplication and overlap that we're wasting tons of money. So there are many places that I've studied, I've researched, I've reported on that we must go after. And the people of Illinois have to know that if they want their property taxes lowered, we have to cut all those things.
Now, pensions drives a lot of local property taxes. I've shared how I covered the Springfield city government and how most of their property tax share is going to pay public sector pensions. How do we address Illinois' pension liabilities? Worst in the nation, $140 billion unfunded liability. How do we address that issue? Again, Ted Dabrowski, Republican candidate for governor.
It's Warren Buffett said that he will not invest in Illinois because there's so much pension debt that he knows that taxes would be coming after him for taxes for the next 30, 40 years. It's really sad. Greg, let me give you 3 examples. I just met with a gentleman who has a big business, national business, and he said that he's no longer investing in Illinois. All of his investments going to other states in the South and in the East Coast. He says, that's where I'm putting all my money, not here. I also met 2 different large commercial real estate developers, and they both told me that they had redlined Chicago. They will not put a penny in Chicago. And that's the kind of mentality right now that's across our country when they think about Illinois, when they think about Chicago, hands off. And that means we can't create jobs, we can't grow wages, we have less opportunity, our population shrinking. All that stuff is added up because Democrats have implemented so many bad policies that people aren't coming here anymore. They're leaving. Companies are leaving. The headquarters are leaving. So pensions is one of those big things. And so, look, it becomes very easy. The first step and the obvious step, move to 401ks for all new employees starting tomorrow. It's constitutional. It's legal. It's what 401ks is what everybody else gets in the private sector. Just do that. And the reason I say that is it would send a signal to the rest of the country that we're finally making change, that we're finally stopping digging the hole. End pensions, stop digging a hole.
Ted Dabrowski chatted with him, I said Friday, talked with him, I believe, on Thursday, but we also talked about public safety, no cash bail, the Safety Act, immigration policies. What does a Dabrowski campaign look like?
We got to bring up the morale of our police tremendously. If we don't bring up their morale, we'll never get public safety going again. And so back the blue, support them all the way. Take the handcuffs off the policemen and put them on the criminals. That's number 1. Number 2, though, is you have to get rid of the Safety Act. Just get rid of it entirely. If there's anything that's good in the Safety Act, we can bring that back on, but otherwise get rid of it. Get rid of sanctuary state, sanctuary city. Now, I'm saying all these things knowing that I can't do this alone. Obviously, I need a legislature to do it, but I would use everything in my power to persuade, to negotiate, to bring back law and order, because we should not continue to be Chicago should not continue to be the city that leads the nation in murders every single year. That should not happen, and we should get tough. And remember, we have to remember the victims. 85 to 90% of the victims in Illinois are black or brown. So I want to move to where we defend the victims and not the criminals. So you would see a dramatic change in policy if I were governor.
Again, finally, some of the questions that we have, we're going to ask to other Republican candidates. But Dabrowski, how do you reverse Illinois' population decline? Something we've seen congresspeople lose seats because we're shrinking in the state of Illinois. How do you reverse that and make Illinois a growing state? Here's Dabrowski.
Greg, I'm sorry, but you broke up a couple times. So I missed the actual.
And again,
question.
This was live tape to Ted as we're playing it back here. And my questions.
Well, I think the rest of the country and all of its
decline.
residents, in Illinois, they need to know that we've switched things. This is a change election. No doubt, this is a change election. If you want the continuation of high property taxes, high gas taxes, a corrupt government, no law and order, support for illegal immigration, then you vote for Pritzker. Just keep doing the same thing. But if you want to flip all those things and get back to some normalcy and we take back control of our own state, make it a great state again, then you got to change your vote and vote for Ted Dabrowski. Now, you have to do something like the 401k, right, to show the rest of the world that we're switching. We're not going to keep coming after them for with all these big debts because we've changed our system. We have to change the law and orders we talked about. You have to make schools competitive again. And we haven't talked about school choice, but a key platform is allowing children and parents to get out of these failing schools. There's way too many schools where hardly anybody reads anymore. We have to create an environment where parents have a choice. We empower parents. But if you start doing all those things, and actually you freeze property taxes, then you start bringing them down. You start cutting all the waste. That's how you have to do this. And I might add, Greg, that on day one, what I would do is create a department that would expose where all the money is going, because nobody knows where the money is going today. Breakthrough Ideas has done a great job of exposing how $1 billion are going to NGOs. All that stuff needs to be reported on, clarified, stopped, and let people have some room to breathe. Let them keep some of their own money. We have to totally flip what Governor Pritzker has done. He's had 7 years to fix these problems, and he's done nothing.
Again, that's Ted Dabrowski, conversation I had with him last week, and how we go about seeing this play out in the March primary.
Yeah, Greg, I'll tell you, one of the most satisfying things, gratifying things, is that I'm being asked to come all over the state. I've been traveling like crazy, and it's by invitation. People are inviting us to talk, and they're so happy to hear somebody who wants to do the opposite of what Governor Pritzker is doing. They don't want these continued property tax hikes. And I'm talking about not just around here, but Southern Illinois as well, where the property taxes are killing them. They don't want this DEI in their schools. They don't want their kids being taught about transgenderism in the 4th grade. They want normalcy, and they want jobs again, and they want respect. And many people, especially in Central and Southern Illinois, feel like they're disenfranchised. That everything's being run for Chicago. People want to be heard, they want to be felt, and they want to know that somebody wants to do something different. And this is a change election, and I think this is the real opportunity. Governor Pritzker hasn't fixed anything. Everything is worse under Governor Pritzker. This is a chance to put him out of office and put somebody like me in and change it, and get our great state back again. We can do better.
Again, Dabrowski's one of multiple candidates running for the Republican nomination on the March 17th primary ballot. Still got some petitioning objections that need to be clarified and whatnot, but we'll get an official list of who is going to be the Republican candidates, and we're going to be doing our best to talk with them here with the Center Square and Illinois in Focus Daily. So hopefully you guys subscribe and stay with us as we go live each and every weekday morning here for Illinois in Focus Daily. All right, so all I got for you on this Monday. No event from the governor today. His official schedule out, but we'll keep an eye on some other things that are happening throughout. Of course, it's a holiday week. We're not going to be on Thursday. All right, so no show Thursday, likely no show Friday. Still got to let the higher ups know I'm going to take Friday off just because I'm going to probably have a turkey hangover, as I'm sure you probably will as well as you celebrate Thanksgiving with family. So just a heads up, it's a holiday week. But we'll still be with you tomorrow, so wake up with us for Illinois in Focus Daily. See you then. Have a great Monday.